In Chelmsford, there's a resident whose neighbour claims she has rats. There's only one man for the job, Paul Luty, master rat catcher.
Ah, well, Miss Wilson. Oh, yeah, about your complaint about rats.
Paul's first move is to try to discover the rat's means of entry to the house.
There's a hole here. As you can see, my thumb will fit in there quite easily. So if my thumb can go in there, a rat will get in there. And because it's a cavity wall, they can actually climb directly up the wall and into the loft. And again, you've got another defect there as well. You've got problems then in your loft. They just work their way up into the loft and then you've got rats.
The lady of the house has a theory of her own.
We know that the people over the road had a lot of problems because there was the old apple farm which drove them under the garages and then they started coming from that way.
Hugely experienced, there's little Paul doesn't know about the ways of the rat.
I don't know if you know, rats are neophobic. That means they're new object shy.
Yeah.
They do not like change. So if any building works could disturb them.
There's been an awful lot of building work going on.
Yeah, that could disturb them and make them come this direction, obviously, into your loft.
There are around 81 million rats at large in the United Kingdom, but are there any here?
Normally, by now, where the insulation is there, which is bare and not covered up by boards, you would see track marks where the rats have been walking, because rats always stick to the same route. And normally in that location as well, you'll find droppings, because rats are incontinent, as are mice. They just urinate and defecate where they actually stand. So you see a lot of droppings. Some people think I've got a bad rat infestation because of the droppings, but a rat does about 40 droppings a day. So if you've got a couple of rats, that's quite a lot of droppings. So I think this side's quite clear.
You don't reckon we've got any then?
No. No, I don't think you have at all. There's no evidence whatsoever of any rats.
But pest catcher Paul is not taking any chances and baits up anyway.
All the bait's placed and just got to come back next week and check it all. So all I require from you, Mrs Wilson, if you could actually sign it for me to say I've actually attended and you're happy with the work I've carried out so far.
This homeowner is more than happy with Paul's efforts.
A huge sense of relief. Yeah, if we haven't got any rats, it'd be nice. I can sleep at night and I can have a shower without thinking they're going to come through the shower. Maybe even visit through the toilet. No, don't want to go in the bathroom and then find one popping his head somewhere. No rats.
Right, I shall see you.
I'll see you next week.
Same day next week.
Same time next week.
Thank you
Thanks
very much.
Paul's next stop will be a rat-ridden house he baited last week. Back in Chelmsford, champion pest controller Paul is returning to the scene of a previous rat infestation.
Oh, it's Harvey here to revisit for you. Check your bait.
OK.
OK?
Yeah.
He wants to see if the bait has been taken and he checks the spots he placed the bait trays.
Yeah, there's rat droppings right on the side there. So they're using this as a run, going through that way. So if the rat's coming through, they're ending up over there somewhere. The bait has been touched. It's not a great deal been taken, but it has been taken. Yeah, it's a run. They sort of be coming round the back of the cupboards. There are gaps underneath here, which a rat could get through. So, because the rat always seems to stick close to the wall, because they just follow the same run every time.
The further the rat sleuth goes, the more the evidence piles up.
Yeah, there's a few droppings around here, not many, but there's a gap behind the cupboard here.
Plenty of signs of rat activity, but no bodies.
Let's go up, Miss, come up and have a look.
Until...
That's what we got. Just pull some bits out.
Paul finds a route into the cupboard.
Ah. There we have one baby rat. So that's obviously eating the poison. And it's shifted its mortal coil. It's starting to pong a little bit. It's lucky enough it's not summer months, otherwise it'd be really minging. In fact, it'd be full of maggots. So I'm just going to dispose of that before it pongs the whole house out. It does stink a little bit.
One baby, but where's Mum and Dad and all those uncles and aunts? Paul must bait and wait, and then he'll be back. There's been a report of fly tipping in Preston's city centre, and enforcement officers Gary and Mark have arrived at the scene of the grime.
Right, this is one of my most favourite places in Preston. As you can see, it's right in the heart of the city. It's full professional people. Supposedly very, very clever people. Not quite sure about that, but there you go.
Gary's frustration with the residents here is easy to understand.
When it first opened, we had a lot of problems here with rough sleepers because the bins for the property are actually in behind these doors. We had a lot of problems with overnight vagrants sleeping in there. There's a bit of drug use in there. There was a lot of drinking going on in there. So the management company and ourselves got together and we decided to put a combination lock on the premises. We letter dropped to everyone, told them what the number was. Now, whether it's a bit too much for them to actually use the combination lock, I'm not sure. It obviously bloody is. So rather than putting it in the bin, they dump it here.
And now Gary has had enough.
Because they've already had the notice served on them, anything we find in this waste, it's an instant £100 fine.
So if there's rubbish outside, what's the state of the bins within?
And lo and behold, it opens. Amazing.
Could they be overflowing?
And guess what? There's plenty of room, but they choose not to use it. That one's empty as well.
Gary is far from impressed.
There's absolutely no excuse for this. We have spoken to some of the residents. They knew about the accommodation. So these are lazy people who just cannot be bothered, who probably come out to go to work first thing in the morning. Shall I put it in the bin? Nah, just dump it there. Somebody else will come and do it for us. What these folk don't realise is that mugs like myself and Mark, we're the ones that have got to come and clear this rubbish up. And it doesn't matter how many letters you send to these people, they just choose to ignore you. Well, unfortunately, they can choose to ignore us to a certain extent, but then they'll end up in front of the magistrate. And they don't need to explain it to me, they can explain it to a magistrate.
Outside, Mark is fishing for evidence that will link the fly-tipped bags to their owners.
Anything, obviously, with identification on it, anything we can link to any of the residents, from utility bills, general letters, taking evidence from prescription bottles and things like that with names on.
You finished?
Trying.
Let's have a look.
Nothing specific at the moment, mate.
But it's Gary who strikes gold first.
And there you go. It actually says on here, you should remove this card, keep it safe and not share it with anyone. Anyone want to look at a card? Duh.
The mood lightens as the lads discover that one of the fly tippers has left a trail that couldn't be easier to follow.
There's information relating to his vehicle, including registration numbers, about his credit rating, debts that he's got. So I don't think we'll have much trouble finding this one.
Gary and Mark may be itching to track down the perpetrator, but first they've got to deal with the filth he and his fellow residents have dumped on their doorstep.
Dirty, stinking waste. Top day. Top day.
Back in Preston, Gary and Mark are still rootling in the fly-tipped rubbish.
As you can see, you know, why have we got rats? Well, that's why you've got rats.
You can smell this rubbish from streets away, but if they're going to find more leads, the lads are going to have to get up close and personal.
This is vile. It's as though people store it until it starts rotting in their own property and then bring it out.
If you can imagine being in Jamie Oliver's kitchen, right, he's cooking a nice Christmas dinner. It's about like that. Not.
But at least the clues keep coming, and it seems this culprit is a multiple felon.
We have a fixed penalty ticket, which, although it doesn't have a name or an address on it, it does have a car registration number. And this was for £50. As well as that, there was also a parking ticket issued to them the end of October this year, which was by Preston City Council for £70. So obviously this year they're having a really, really bad period, aren't they? It'll take us literally 10 or 15 minutes back at the office to link this car registration to the owner of the vehicle and thus to their address. So we'll have a fixed penalty notice in the post to them by close of business today.
Some people, it seems, just love paying fines, and Gary, for one, has no problem with that.
Serves you right. It's like the old, you know, you take your chance, you get caught, pay up.
Right, they're the last two, mate.
Gary and Mark have rid the streets of the foul-smelling rubbish, but for them, the story has just begun.
The statute notice is quite clearly stated. You must put your waste in the bin. Well, you can see the problem. You know, that people ignore it. Well, that's fine. Ignore it if you want, but you are going to get fined. And if you don't pay the fine, we'll take you to court. It's as simple as that. So what do you want to do? Pay the fine, go to court, or put your rubbish in the bin? Duh.